Hello, everyone. We're welcome to the Lawcast. We're doing this from different locations, as you can see today. This
Yes. Yes, you can see coming from my dining room at the moment, my table.
Have a white background here. You've got white walls, I assume.
Yes, very white walls. I haven't quite gotten to sort of setting up my background. You know how you see some people have got like a nice bookshelf and maybe a pot plant.
True.
And it looks very kind of professional, awfully like a talk show, like a talk show kind of setup.
Yes.
Haven't quite gotten around to that.
No, we can always make a giant poster of something and just kind of like
Yes.
you're out at the beach, perhaps.
Well, I mean, you'd always actually be in the beach. I mean, you could always, I could be on my balcony. I can see that you're in the backyard. I can see.
It's that. I'm in my backyard. I'm not sure anyone can see, but perhaps you can. Just there, you can see my beehives.
Ah, yes,
there.
Yes.
Got dog toy on it at the moment, but I've got native Australians, and yes, so that's. I don't know if you can.
One of the delights of working from home and everyone being remote is you just get to see a little bit more about people's lives than you would ordinarily get to see.
Just a little bit.
And you've seen plenty of clips of some of the states of people's backgrounds. Some of the people's apartments are a little less, let's just say, a reflection of their tidiness.
That's very true. It's the reason why I haven't done this inside today is because the room where I do my work is actually empty. Like the wardrobe is empty. There's nothing on the wall. It's just an empty room. So I figured that if I do it outside, it might be a little bit more entertaining.
I can see that you went with the asylum look. The everything is blank and no stimulation whatsoever.
It's a wonderful environment to work in. I also have very large. These slidey wardrobes have mirrors on them, so it's just I have to open the wardrobe in order not to have 1,000 knees.
Having a look at the back of your head. Well, yes. I suppose it kind of leads well into what I want to talk about. I suppose our first topic, which is I was reading an article from the BBC this week.
Right.
And it was talking about that Google has come out and given an announcement that they are encouraging people to work in the office rather than working from home. And they cite the usual sort of reasons they think it's better for productivity. They also think it's better for mental health and things like that. And it's probably a bit of that, and there's a bit of kind of control element to it, being able to control stuff. But they've come out and also said that they are, if you would like to work from home, that's fine, but we will pay you accordingly. And they've looked to decrease people's wages if they are working from home in areas which are lower expenses. So, for example, you live rurally, your expenses are far lower compared to Silicon Valley, which is where they're located.
Right.
And so when they sort of interviewed a few people that are anonymous Google employees, but I mean, look into that as you wish. But some of them were sort of 20%, but most of them looked like they're about sort of 10% drops in their salaries. And presumably that.
Comfortable with the drop in their salary?
Well, this particular article was very weighted to say that was a negative aspect. Now, obviously, they can pick and choose who they decide to put in the article, because some people that may be fine.
Yeah. I'll take a pay cut in order to not have to travel and work from home. There would be people out there who are quite comfortable with that, I'd say.
Well, look, it sort of raises an interesting point, I think, which when it comes to how you set people's pay, which they spoke about that they've always based people's pay off the local market. So the local market being within Silicon Valley.
I call bullshit.
Well, I mean, a part of it feels awfully cost saving, but I kind of get where they're coming from.
Well, look, I mean, the same goes for a lot of large companies. The big four, they pay people in accordance to where they're living. It's I'm not sure it is, but they reckon it's cheaper to live in Brisbane than it is in Sydney. Therefore, salaries for the same job are higher in Sydney than they are in Brisbane. Honestly, I think it doesn't matter. People, it's just, I don't know. I mean, doesn't it lend itself to the sorry, I've just moved everything, the thin end of the wedge? Because if you do that, then why do we care where people live if we employ them, for instance? And we're going to start employing people because they are geographically closer to the office? Are we, do you know, where's the end game here? Surely you're doing a job, it's worth X. It doesn't matter where you are.
I see it as a bit different. I see it like almost supply and demand, but with people and talent generally. So if you want to have Joe Bloggs, he's a very talented software designer. And if you want him to work for you rather than the competitor, then supply and demand will mean that you pay him an X amount of money to retain him or to keep him or to employ him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of as simple as that. If he's able to work remotely, then he's also just competing with other people that are paying him remotely.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it? So we're essentially talking about, I guess that people want to pay less for people who are working from home. There's less travel, there's less, there could be less distractions. I don't know. I kind of think that. I don't know how I feel about this. Let's take a personal view. If you got to work from home, would you take a pay cut? I mean, setting aside that I'm your boss and you should really be saying, no, I'd rather work at work. I mean,
for the purpose of that experiment, let's say I live in the Sunshine Coast, so sort of an hour, or I wanted to live in the Sunshine Coast, and I said to you, I don't really want to commute. I want to work from home every day, so I can live over there. Then I might do, because I also know that my rent or my mortgage is going to be less.
Well, I get that. But that's a flexible working arrangement. Melanie, I've decided that I want to move to the Sunshine Coast for. Oh, sorry, that's my cat walking across. I want to move to the Sunshine Coast for for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I'll come into work on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I go, okay, but this is a huge inconvenience to me. This is a flexible working arrangement. I think we should. Hang on, the cat's got something weird on its face. So yeah, let's talk about what that looks like in reality. But that's not the same as saying to people, okay, well, if you want to work from home, you're getting a pay cut. Or is it? Is it a flexible working arrangement?
I think it can be. I mean, putting aside, let's just say that we're in negotiations and we're going to, whatever kind of arrangement is agreed. I think it's fine to put it in the same discussion.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with asking people, well, if you want to work from home, I want to pay you less. I don't see anything wrong with having that discussion, but where does it go from there? So let's say it doesn't work. You're working from home, it's just not working. The employer wants you back at the office. Who's got the power to say, I want you to come back? Who's got the power to say no?
Well, they could probably just bring you back, and then the problem is your pay is, is the pay going to go back up?
Well, this is it. You've made the deal. It's a new contract. It's do we? I mean, I guess the sensible thing to do is to call the flexible working arrangement, give it a time frame, get things that stop and go. Is this a stop-go moment? Do we want you back? Do we not want you back? We're going to terminate it. We're not going to terminate it. Look, I understand all of that, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with the idea of it being a pay cut because it's cheaper to live where that person is than it is for something else. For me, either the person's at work or they're at home. I don't care where they are. You know, if they're at work, they're at work. If they're at home, they can live 4 hours away. I don't care, as long as they get to work on time and they do the work and they leave.
That's true. That's true. I suppose it just comes down to how you see it, and sort of the whole thing goes to whether it is, I don't know, advantageous, whether it's people want to continue working there, and it kind of goes to it. It goes to, you know, it's the same sort of stuff as providing, you know, non-monetary benefits to a job. You know, all those, you know, a gym membership. It's incentives to work there, and you know, if I think it can go both ways. I think it really can be something that, if it may work for all parties involved, which is, well, you know, I can work, you know, if I can work completely remotely, it means I can live in somewhere which is potentially more desirable to me. And it may be that I'm actually getting more money in my pocket. Even, and
the trigger, you know, is the trigger though, the working from home, it's a cheaper place to live. Is the trigger for the pay cut because you're living somewhere cheaper, or is the trigger for the pay cut that you're not working from work? Because there are two knock-on effects here. I'm not sure work would care about where the employee lives. I just don't think that should be, you know, if you employ them, you suck it up. Everyone sucks it up for whatever reason. But if you're giving them, if there are other benefits involved, like, travel time, so on and so forth, or you don't have to supply a desk for that person, therefore the next place you rent doesn't have to be as big, therefore it's cheaper, you know, all this. I just wonder where the swings and roundabouts are on this point. I actually don't think people should care where people live. If they want to work from home and the deal is if you do that, you get a pay cut, who the hell cares whether they live in CBD of Sydney or they live in Dubbo? I'm not sure it should matter.
Well, I mean, it's all interesting. One of the kind of just generally, I think, beneficial aspect of all of this, and coming out of all of the aspects of the ongoing crisis, which is what I'm calling it from now.
Which is the reason why we're in different places today.
Yes, the ongoing crisis is our way of making sure we don't get, oh, sorry, I just said it, our block, you know.
Yeah, we get pinged for no reason.
The internet gods. Is I think that it's encouraged more constructive conversations and a more individual basis for employment, rather than broad strokes, a more kind of productive thought about how employment can be, and a bit more flexible about the way someone can work. How long that lasts is you know, up for debate, but these types of conversations, I think, are, if nothing else, you know, even if an employee and an employer weren't able to come to an agreement like that, the fact that they're having the conversation, I think, is a positive thing.
Well, it's certainly a new thing, isn't it? Because I do know that, like for us, for instance, we work a 4-day week. Today is a Friday, which means that we're working today, but normally we get some downtime.
Sort of an easier day,
yeah, we get some downtime on a Friday. And at the moment, for those of you who don't know, the ongoing crisis has caused a little bit of a mix about at work. So I'm working 2 days at home and you're working 2 days at home, and we're kind of doing a swapsies. But I do know that there are other law firms that absolutely prohibit working from home, because when people did, no one did any work.
Yeah. I think we've actually spoken about this before, but I'm aware of issues where people were manufacturing billable hours because there's not that much way you can monitor it until invoicing comes along, you know. And it's just a lot harder, especially if you have a very junior, I think, workforce who need that kind of ongoing mentoring and supervision. I'm not certain how you do that remotely.
Yeah, mentoring and supervision I find really challenging remotely. I'm a hands-on type of girl, and I like being hands-on, but I know that's not that's not for everyone, but I do find that a real challenge. I'm going to change the subject. I found out something last night that I found absolutely, like, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I was doing a little bit of couch surfing on my computer, and I found out that one could purchase Ekka Ice Creams from a company. Now, I thought this was really interesting because for those viewers who don't know, last week was what we call Ekka Week in Brisbane. Ekka is essentially a city-based country show where they bring cows in and they do dog shows, and you can poke a chicken and you can feed a cow and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And they've got wood chopping, and there's actually
the country comes to town.
Yeah,
the country comes to town.
Country comes to town. And at the Ekka every year, they've got these Ekka ice creams, and the Ekka ice cream is based on an ice cream cone with a little bit of ice cream at the bottom, strawberries in the middle, ice cream at the top, cream and strawberries. Now, I know this because I found out all about this last night. What I did is I jumped online and I found out there was this company that was selling boxes of Ekka ice cream packs. Now this is not a plug for it. I'm segueing into something else. So you could buy enough to make 20 Ekka ice creams in this container thing. Yeah, which is, it wasn't.
It's not an insignificant amount. 20 ice creams.
When there's only 2 people living in my house. It's like
it's Ekka every day for 10 days.
That's right, and I'm not sure the strawberries are going to last. But anyway, so I ordered it online, and I can pick it up anytime before 8 o'clock last night. And we turned up at this warehouse-like environment in a suburb in Brisbane called Coorparoo, which just happens to be super close to where I live. And it's a giant warehouse, but when you go up the stairs, there's this tiny room where they've got this big big display, and it'll have a person's name and what box they're meant to get their bag of Uber Eats or Hoodoo or whatever, you know, all those, you know how they've got all those Uber, you know, all those different pick up your food and drive companies. This organisation had created a bunch of, I don't know what you call them, like a virtual kitchen inside this giant warehouse where you could rent a kitchen, build your food, put it on the app and have someone choose it and have a driver come, find their name in there, pop it, take it out of the little cubby hole and then drive away with it.
So all they do is delivery. Like it's
the little front counterpart that I went to was only for delivery people who are coming to pick up stuff, because there was a bunch of pigeonholes and there's a big screen and your name, pigeonhole, off you went. Yeah. But behind the scenes was a bunch of virtual kitchens. Or, you know how you go to virtual offices and you've got those little offices and you might be one little 3-meter square space with one little desk. Yes. Inside this space had all these kitchens.
Wow, that's a really good business idea.
You can rent a kitchen.
You can rent a space. It's literally rent an office.
Rent an office or a kitchen for the purposes of putting it on one of these food apps. I was like, blew my mind.
I wonder if that's almost the future. If the days of dining are gone, you know, are we just going to be?
For those of us who want to sell our food, to get it out there into the market, your cupcakes or your burgers or your, I don't know, you can just rent your kitchen, bring your food for the night, pop it onto the app and hope someone buys it.
And you can be in the game for as little or as long as you want to be.
Yeah.
You know, you can make a name for yourself over the space of a month and sort of dip your toes and see whether people like your product or not.
It's crazy.
Just imagine when the next, you know, big chef comes along and they'll just do something for a week and it'll be almost impossible to get your hands on whatever they're making, whether it be a pasta dish or, you know, a croissant or something.
I can only think that's happening already and we're just not in with the in crowd getting it.
Maybe. Although I don't know. I mean, I think it's really interesting how we've seen restaurants or eating places change probably in the last sort of 2-3 years, where big restaurants aren't necessarily a thing anymore. It's usually quite small, and some of them almost exclusively survive off that delivering service.
Yeah, this is something quite incredible. Like when we think about, say, the Chinese restaurant, Chinese takeaway. The Chinese takeaway has never really been a place to sit down and eat. It's been a place to sit down, to sit around while you can get your stuff and off. There's nothing stopping that Chinese restaurant no longer having a premises and just doing this takeaway stuff, because I just think this totally blew my mind as a concept. So I only got really excited and thought about this last night. And I was like, so how does one do this? I guess you would have to have like a massive marketing campaign to kick it off somehow. Because,
you need people to know about it.
Yeah, because when we look at these apps, I don't know about you, but when I find a restaurant that has like 3 things on its menu, I go, who's the next guy? You know what I mean?
I like choice. I like a bit of choice.
Yeah, I actually really like choice. So the ones that are just selling like 3 different types of burgers, 2 milkshakes, and fries, for instance. I just wonder how, without a decent marketing campaign, people are going to go, oh, I totally want that. I was where I live, there's a new restaurant that opened up a few months ago called the Lonely Heart Burger Club or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, they actually only sell one type of burger. They only sell chips, basically, and they sell drinks out of a fridge or milkshakes. So they really actually only have 3 things on their menu.
Yeah, they must do it very well if they want to survive.
Well, I'm certainly not going to comment because I don't want to plug or unplug or whatever. But yeah, and I just thought someone like the Lonely Hearts Burger Club probably would be perfect for this model, because they've already got a name for themselves. Premises are expensive, and you need more staff for premises. And all you need to do is have a kitchen where you make burgers and get someone else to deliver them. Easy peasy lemon squeezing.
I mean, it's not probably. I mean, put that together with what we were speaking about before about working from home. It's not a great time to be in commercial leasing. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, it isn't.
Because it's more reason why you don't need that, premises that's right on the main road on the corner with the big, alfresco area.
Windows,
don't need
that stuff. No one's doing that anymore.
No, because you just don't need it. You can, be on a back street or, as you said, in a warehouse.
In a warehouse. That totally blew my mind. So anybody who's listening or watching this today, I would love to hear your opinions on whether you've heard about this, whether you've seen it work, whether you know someone who's doing it. This is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Well, maybe not the coolest thing I've ever heard, but you know what?
It's close enough.
It's a pretty good business model.
The big question is, how was the ice cream?
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We made them last night. We made one each last night. I didn't go ice cream crazy.
Well, you've got plenty to go. Got plenty more cracks at it.
Got a lot of giving it a go, yeah. But I'm not the sort of person, like, I ate one, I thought, I could tell you another one. But, I'm not the sort of person to sit there and just eat another one and then another one and then another one.
There's a diminishing return on how enjoyable that would be. But I suppose confession time. I have never been to the Ekka.
Never been to the Ekka?
Never.
I've been about 3 times in 17 years.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, I've never been. I've been here 19 years and never been.
Never been to the Ekka.
For a long time, I didn't really even have an interest in it.
I don't know what it was. Walking distance from the Ekka.
I do. A bit uphill. It should be said, a bit uphill.
Oh, but, I'm sorry to hear that.
There's a slight incline on the way there. I was planning on going this year, which was a little bit frustrating. The one time I did want to go,
Did you buy a ticket?
I did not. Is it?
It's an ad hoc thing then? You were going to turn up today?
I figured it was that sort of thing, have a look at, see what's going on.
I've been to the Ekka 3 times. There are things I absolutely love about the Ekka, like you can go and watch the dog shows where people are showing their dogs. This
Like,
is the.
Is that the one where they sort of jump over the little obstacles and stuff?
No, they just walk around the outside with their suit and their.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely so much fun. But there's also a cat show as well.
Is it the exact same, just with cats?
It's pretty much the same. It is the best thing I have ever seen. And I'm fascinated by the big fluffy chickens as well.
Oh, with the sort of.
Yeah, like all the big
thing.
poopy chickens. And I like putting my finger into the cage and waiting for them to try and bite my finger off. And yep. Oh, we've lost you. Oh, you're back again.
Yes, sorry, I've got.
So you can pet llamas as well at the Ekka, which I'm a big fan of. There's lots of other stuff, ladies and gentlemen, one can do at the Ekka. Like there's a showground with like carny rides and stuff like that. But I've never done the carny rides.
How does sort of getting full with ice cream, Dagwood dogs, and then meat pies, and then I wonder how that goes with, what's the ride where you're sort of stuck on the outside as it goes?
Yeah.
Basically the vomitron.
Is that the one where you go into that machine and you can? I'm a fan of that ride. I don't know. I've never done the rides because I'm actually a big fan of all the farm animal stuff that happens.
Fair enough.
Wood chopping and all that. So I kind of spend my day doing that. There was a guy in the big arena one year that I was there who was riding a bull, which was quite fun to watch. And then there was a guy he was on one of those jetpacks and zoomed around on the jetpack.
Very cool, very cool. There's a lot of, it sounds like it's just a bit of fun everywhere around.
Well, don't worry. I'm sure it will be back next year. The
worldwide
crisis. The worldwide crisis will hopefully come to a short, sharp end once everybody has had the jab, and
and we'll be back to normal. Well, fingers crossed. I do remember when this all began. I was one of these skeptics and said, "Oh, they're just saying August just because they've got to put us on warning, but it's actually just going to be July." I was those guys. I was that guy.
Yeah, you're one of those guys. Well, when it first started, I had clients who were coming from the regions which were really bad in Asia. So I shut the office in March with the proviso. I stopped taking clients in the office in March, and it was early March before everything shut down because I could see the tide coming. But as an employment lawyer, I think you and I can both agree that we often see things happening before they actually arrive in the public's awareness. So I watched that. That was a slow tide coming into Australia. Fascinating though, absolutely fascinating. Anyway, Kate, something else you want to, anything on your mind? I haven't.
Well, the case came up this week, which I thought was a really interesting one. It was an unfair dismissal, and so what had happened was he worked in a warehouse and he was on the floor, and he took a phone call, and he sort of took the phone call and then realized, oh, hang on, there was a policy that said, you're not allowed to take phone calls on the warehouse floor. You have to sort of take it outside. And
wake up in safety point.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So he quickly hangs up the phone and goes outside and takes a call. He is subsequently fired for that. And the case speaks a lot about that. This was the employee argued that a lot of people were making the same mistake. There's disproportionate treatment of him, and the case spoke a lot about this was the line in the sand moment. Okay. This was they acknowledged that other people were doing it and that there was a policy in place and it wasn't being implemented. But at some point it does need to become implemented if you want to put it on the straight and narrow. And he just so happened to be the first person who sort of had no ulterior motive to it.
Go on.
he won.
I'm not surprised.
He won, but I suppose the interesting thing to talk about is the commission spoke about the line in the sand is fine, but the way you go about it with that first person wasn't right. And they said, in a perfect world, what they would have or should have done was said, we are going to suspend this person, or we're going to, take disciplinary action. We're not going to let it slide. But nevertheless, don't suspend them, don't fire them. And then from that point on, anyone after that person has been placed on notice.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I absolutely agree with the commission on that point. I think if someone had come to me and said, hey, look, this person took a phone call on the floor, we have a policy against that, but we've never enforced the policy, I would say be careful. Be careful, because it turns to harshness, I think.
That's exactly what. So they said that there was a valid reason, which is true. He shouldn't have taken the phone call on.
There's a policy in place, valid reason. Yeah.
And all the procedural elements were satisfied, so he was given a chance to respond, and that was considered before the decision was made. That was all fine, but it was purely harshness. Just why him and not another person? And this was all. There was no sort of ulterior motive to it. It wasn't like they didn't like him or
It was just, today was the day we were going to start enforcing the policy, and it was just he's that guy. Yeah, look, I absolutely get it. I think they could have done better. They could have notified everybody that this is going to be a policy they're now going to enforce, and they could have given people more information. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting. So this lends itself, going back to the full circle of how useful your policies are. Yeah,
well, they're only as useful as the way you implement them.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, you can have, and I say this over and over and over again. You can have the best policies in the world. In fact, there's probably half a dozen cases this year where the commission says that.
Yeah.
But if you're not enforcing them, you're not applying them, you're not reviewing them, they're worthless.
And it kind of, we see it a lot, which is that's where the exposure generally lies, because you can get all the external advice you want. Lawyers can draft your policies, they can give you the initial advice about how to do it, but if you're not actually implementing it, it's what you do day to day. And the next time there is an issue, and then the next time after that, that's where generally the exposure is. It's not in the documents themselves.
No, it's not. And this just as a segue onto something that I've been thinking about. It's this sexual harassment legislation that's getting passed at the moment. This concept, for those who don't know me, I am not a fan of more laws just because.
Yeah.
I think we have laws. Most of them can be enforced in the ways of what we would expect them to be able to be enforced. I don't think bringing in a new law to specifically deal with something that already has a law that deals with it is worth an awful lot. I'm not into big law, I guess, if I can put it into a box. But the government seems to be, and on this point they absolutely are. They are changing the legislation to allow an individual to file a bullying claim for one incident of sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Now, I don't understand why it's in the bullying space. I don't understand that. I know sexual harassment is a thing. I know it's upsetting. I know all of those things. But when we think about bullying, we think about something that happens more than once.
Yeah.
And
hence the jurisdiction. I mean, hence the idea that stop bullying order. The whole idea is to stop what is otherwise a continuing problem.
Yeah.
Because we already have ways of dealing with single incidents.
Well, if you wanted to lump sexual harassment into the space of bullying, one can absolutely do that. A form of bullying is, sexual harassment. You can see how it might fit. But we have anti-discrimination laws. We have anti-sexual harassment laws. You don't need to create a new law to protect someone. And the system is broadly the same. Broadly?
Yeah, broadly.
I'm missing something here.
Well, when I saw it, the first thing that came to my mind was, if you have a single incident of sexual harassment, why would you want to file a stop bullying or stop sexual harassment application, which would, the only thing you can get from it is an order for it to stop? But if it was only a single incident.
Well, this is how do you stop a single incident? How do you get an order to have a single incident stop? Or maybe we're missing something. Maybe there's something further. They're going to give more powers. But what more powers would you give a commission on this point?
I mean, I don't really know. And it kind of goes to some of the other aspects as well, which, we've seen that, sexual harassment now is a reason for serious misconduct. But that was already...
It's already there.
It's already that, because it's abhorrent behaviour and it's clearly serious misconduct, and it was already captured. It's
already captured in the work health and safety section of 1.07 of the regulations. 1.07 of the regulations, people, is where the definition of serious misconduct is, and it says somewhere, and I'm not quoting it, that compromises the work health and safety of the employees or something, along those lines.
I think it's of yourself or others or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, so it's here already.
Sometimes
I don't know.
I can see that it might be a little bit more prescriptive. I can see some benefits, and push our legal brains to the side and pretend we are lay people, and they see what's in front of them. And if there was no understanding that, even in 2021, that sexual harassment does have a risk to workplace health and safety, if you aren't able to put that link in yourself, then certainly I can see some benefit in having a more prescriptive, I suppose, reason, something you can point to.
Okay. Look, I understand, and I don't not like it. I just wonder, what about everything else?
Yeah, where do we stop? Do we just want a full list?
Do we want an exhaustive list of all the things that are serious misconduct? I mean, where do we stop here? What's the next equivalent to Me Too that's going to be out there that we're now going to change legislation for?
I dare say we're actually about to go into it. I think the next Me Too movement, which might affect employment, is bullying and harassment. I think we're probably already starting it.
You're right. The workout, because they just passed them. They're looking at with this whole psychological injury area. This is a fascinating area for those who don't know. So what Chris and I are talking about is the space where psychological injury in the workplace is a thing. In Australia, it is very hard to get a psychological injury over the line through the insurers, i.e. WorkCover or QSuper. QSuper being the government insurer for Queensland government workers. So what they're doing is they're seeking to amend legislation just to make it easier for psychological damage to get over the line. But we're talking about overwork. We're talking about there's a raft. I don't necessarily think they're going down the wrong pathway. I just wonder if there's a better way to do it.
I mean, all things considered, I don't envy being a manager at this time.
No, I was actually thinking about this overwork, Bizzo. As lawyers, as you know, our clients think we work 24/7. They do. It's something, because what's on their mind they want it to be on our minds too. That's how it works. Probably at least a quarter, maybe a third of our clients complain about being overworked, and yes, they want us to overwork ourselves to solve their problems.
Yes, the irony involved is interesting, but
it's a little bit of a. I was just thinking about this because I have to think of you guys and my team. If I want you to work as much as my clients think you should be working, you will also have this problem of being stressed at work and the psychological injury and being underpaid and all that sort of stuff. It's just
as I said, I wouldn't envy being a manager at the moment because I think what's being asked of managers almost now on a day-to-day level is quite a lot. It's a really in-depth consideration of your own employees or people, your subordinates.
You can't just get on with your job.
It's actually really hard.
You have to think about everything else. I'm sorry, everyone. I've got only a small percentage of my battery left.
Yes, it's a very unique way of finishing given the circumstances. But
yes, I think you're right. I think managers are going to have a really hard time because they're going to be thinking about all this other stuff as well as doing the work they have to do
and
managing everyone and everything else that's going on. Tricky.
Tricky times ahead, I think.
Next time I want to talk about the jab. There's a whole bunch of new stuff going on at the moment about it. Yes. I want to have a look at it.
It's a big elephant in the room.
It is a big elephant in the room. I'm going to be thinking about the jab this week, and if anybody's got any thoughts on the jab with the global crisis, I'd be very happy to hear about it and send it through to us. And Chris, thanks very much for taking the time to sit in your blank room.
Yes, my living room or my dining room. Maybe I should have next time a sort of painting.
It's getting darker and darker where I am.
Well, I've got the kitchen lights on. But all right, well, on that note.
Yes, everyone, thank you very much for listening and watching to the Lawcast. And thank you, Chris. We'll talk in 2 weeks' time.
See ya.
See ya.